Thank you, Jane. Welcome back. We have a set of form of words for Councillor Vernon Jackson and Councillor Vallely's proposal to refuse officers.
Yes, Simon Turner has the wording.
Thank you. My note from Councillor Vernon Jackson was two concerns: that the size is too small and the access from the road equals an independent dwelling. On the second point about the access equaling a separate dwelling, that's not the application in front of us, so it's hard to include that element, but I have tried in case that's what members want for. So I'll give you the two versions. The proposed development would not provide a building of acceptable size and amenity for future occupiers, and so would not accord with PCS 23 of the Portsmouth local plan. If members wish to include the access point, it would read: the proposed development would not provide a building of acceptable size, amenity and access for future occupiers, and so would not accord with PCS 23 of the local plan.
Simon, I think the first one is simpler. What would you think, Mary? Yeah.
Option one.
Yeah. If that's all right, Simon.
Would you just give it to us again so everybody's clear about what?
Thank you. In which case, the proposed development would not provide a building of acceptable size and amenity for future occupiers, and so would not accord with PCS 23 of the Portsmouth local plan.
Thank you. So those in favour of the proposal as just described? Those against and abstentions?
So that's a vote to refuse planning permission.
Thank you, Kieran. Thank you, everybody. West Battery Field. Yes, we ought to invite Councillor.
Okay, Chairman. Thank you. This is an application at West Battery Field, down on the seafront. I'll show in a moment, for the construction of a wall, seeking a lawful development certificate. So the location in question is just west of Southsea Castle. There, the Battery Field west is there, so you've got the bandstand in the middle, the flat field, and then the seafront prom. Half of the field is currently under use as the part of the compound for the sea defences. For newer members of the planning committee, this is not a planning application where you make matters of judgment based on policy and material considerations and so on. This is an application for a certificate of lawfulness. The applicant believes that they do not need planning permission for this wall because of its limited height, and they could proceed as such without any formal paperwork, but as a responsible authority, they are seeking a formal certificate to confirm that it is indeed permitted development. It does not need planning permission. So there are no matters of judgment around whether or not you like the wall or whether or not it affects flooding, etc., etc. The only question is this lawful development? Is it permitted development? And the answer is it is, because it is just 0.6 of a metre high, and it could be up to 2 metres high. So it is lawful. It is permitted development, and so the lawful development certificate can be issued. Just for completeness, there is a view of the wall looking west with Southsea Castle behind you. It's the wall on the back here. Thank you.
Thank you. Simon. I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation. Anybody want to second, Gerald? Okay. Those in favour, unless there's any alternative views? Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, Chair, may I just ask you who seconded your proposal? I didn't catch that. Thank you.
Councillor Vernon Jackson.
Jane, I always do what I'm told.
That was so fast, it looked like it was unanimous from where I was squinting from. Thank you.
Okay. Prospect Road.
The next application is Prospect Road.
Oh, yes. Councillor Vernon Jackson needs to leave at this point.
This is an application that an existing car park on Prospect Road is for the change of use of said car park and the adjacent public highway to form port operational land to include fencing to the boundary and diversion of a footpath. So we are on the southeastern edge of Portsmouth International Port, with the main road running north up to the end of the motorway here, which at this point is called Princess Royal Way. Prospect Road is that part, which is within the Red Edge site. So there's Prospect Road. And Flathouse Road is just to the west of the site, there, just off. So we have a staff car park, and a part of the highway that is blocked off at the end. So access is further west into the site and the port. We have further land owned by the applicant, Portico, to the north, and to the immediate west we have a demolition contractor who was interested in the access arrangements. So the proposal is to change the use of the land and to stop up the part of the public highway as well, and to use it all for a range of port purposes, mostly the storage of cargo of various types set out in the report. Cargoes, bagged, palletised bricks, all sorts of things that come and go from a port, materials, as well as HGVs and trailers and other things. So a typical port use, essentially, which the port wants to achieve as part of wider changes and developments across such the estate. Effectively, it would be for 24/7 operation. It involves also a new boundary fence and barbed wire in accordance with normal port codes. Just to show you a bit more of the site, this is the main road travelling north-south here. This is the end of Prospect Road and the blocking up of the highway there that already exists with landscape, and so the site is behind it. That's travelling north, heading towards the motorway, and the site is behind the wall here. This is on Prospect Road looking west, so your back is turned to the main road behind you. This is the east-west Prospect Road, and the access into the site is just beyond that orange van. And this is looking the other way on Prospect Road, looking east, so the motorway is beyond, and that is the site access, and this is the adjacent access into the demolition depot next door. Just some HGV movements, which is one of the issues that was discussed in conjunction with the neighbour and the Highways Authority. So there are a variety of issues. I should just add the diversion of the coastal path currently comes along Prospect Road here, sort of two sides of the triangle effectively. Because of the blocking up of the land proposed, the coastal path would simply carry along the main road anyway, so it would just be one side of the triangle instead of two. Otherwise, the matters of manoeuvring into the site, the loss of highway land, the effects of parking, etc., are dealt with in the report satisfactorily. And there are no concerns with respect to design or any other highway matters. So, and parking. Separately, the informative at the end does inform the applicant about stopping up and diversion orders and appropriation of the land. These are separate procedures that the applicant understands and will need to pursue should they gain planning permission. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. Members, any questions on the application? Comments? Councillor Shah?
Thank you. Just a couple of points I want to raise. Number one is, how will it look like if it's storage? What sort of storage would be there? And how will it look like from the main road outside, which is adjacent to the car park area? Thank you.
Thank you. It will look like any industrial site, depending how they arrange. They'll obviously have their own health and safety arrangements on site for the staff, for moving vehicles and so on. So I'm sure it will be properly regulated as a proper company owned by the City Council as well. So you're not getting random and tottering piles of materials that are going to fall over and crush someone. So I imagine there'll be a relative order, as you see on any other port site, to the stacking, any stacking of materials. So what you would see would be a site of a range of materials and objects and vehicles stored in one way or another, Councillor.
Okay. Any supplementary questions? Okay, well, I'm happy to move the officer's recommendations. Is anybody happy to second? Judith? Thank you. Unless there's anything else, those in favour of the proposal? I think that's it.
That was unanimous approval in accordance with the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Karen. We'll retrieve Councillor Vernon Jackson before we move on. Has he wandered off? We'll give him a couple of minutes, otherwise we'll make progress. Okay, Simon. Oh, no, back on.
Thank you. We have the application at the Spinnaker Tower, Gunwharf Quays, for an externally illuminated lettering sign to the lower leg, one of the lower legs of the tower, and two smaller signs at its entrance.
So can I just, for completeness, I think I am a member of the Cabinet, but I don't, because property isn't within my portfolio, I don't think this is something where I need to declare an interest, but I just think it is right and proper that I declare I am a member of the Cabinet.
And that's a matter of public record, but thank you for the clarification, Councillor.
Thank you. I think we all know where Gunwharf Quays and the Spinnaker Tower is, but just for anyone else watching, there on the western side of the city centre and Gunwharf Quays on the harbour, Portsmouth Harbour. There is Spinnaker Tower, 170 metres tall. The application is for the words Macmillan at the bottom leg. It doesn't look very big, but because of the scale of the structure, it's between about 15 and 27 metres from the ground. So in itself, it is a large sign, but it does not appear so, I would say, on a very large structure. The applicant has confirmed the lettering would be lit by the existing lighting, so everyone knows the different hues that are used or can be used presently. There are spotlights all over the building. I think we can see probably in a bit more detail here. I think these are spotlights, floodlights facing up, for example. So at the bottom of the building in particular, you get floodlights facing up. At the moment, it's that bluish colour. And then on each horizontal rib, there are spotlights facing up, so lighting up the sail, and then some more lights around the top, and of course right on the top. So the sign, the painted sign, would be seen within that existing lighting arrangement. And the two signs for completeness at the base are non-illuminated, just to replace the existing livery on these two triangle structures. So the report considers the two matters that one can only consider for an advert, which is amenity and public safety. Public safety is normally deemed to be highway safety. There's no concern in this respect. And in terms of local amenity, the sign is relatively discreet. It would change the lower appearance of the Spinnaker Tower, but not so immeasurably or unduly in officer's opinion. It wouldn't be seen from many wider viewpoints because of other buildings in the area blocking it, for example. So views of it from around the area would be limited and at some distance until you get up close to it, and we don't think there's any difficulty with respect to amenity. The report also considers matters of heritage for the conservation area within which it's situated, and other heritage and listed buildings and conservation areas on both sides of the harbour, and the conclusion is there's no harm there either. So the recommendation is to approve.
Thank you. Members, should we take questions and comments together on this?
Well, I'm happy to propose this. I just think it's a really good thing to link Macmillan to the tower. I understand that they're going to be doing things like sponsored abseiling, people running up and down the stairs inside the leg. I used to have to go up it when it was being built, up on a rickety little thing and then down in the internal stairs, and I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. But if it's raising money for charity and a good cause with Macmillan, I think this is absolutely commendable, and I'd fully support it.
Thank you. Councillor Vallely is, I think, indicating. You want to second? Yep. Yes, I think so. We'll welcome. Shall we move to the vote? Those in favour?
That's unanimous approval in accordance with the officer's recommendation.
Wonderful. Just before we go to the last application, I should say rather late in the day, but Councillor Brent did give apologies earlier this morning for her absence. Spencer Road.
Thank you, Chairman. This is an application at 2-6 Spencer Road for the change of use from a care home to 6 number dwelling houses, including demolition at the rear of some of the previous rear extensions, external alterations, etc., parking, and so on the front. I'll take you through. So there's the site just on Eastern Esplanade, so just north of the sporting fields there, in Eastern Craneswater. So here there's the Esplanade, so the seafront to the right, to the south. Some people might recognise the building with the green roof there, and it's this property here, backing onto this 1960s or 70s 4-storey block. You can see the accretions of rear extensions as a care home in the back gardens, which were limited size anyway, and a lot of that is taken up by these extensions. The proposal is to remove those and replace on a slightly smaller scale, and therefore reintroduce some gardens. You can just about make out, I think there were 2 vehicular access ways, one there, one at the eastern end, and a pedestrian one. So the parking's not perpendicular to the street. You have to go on and park parallel to the street, hence most of the frontage being hard standing. It would appear that numbers 2, 4 and 6 Spencer Road, it looks like there would have been 3 houses originally, and then at some point in the past linking extensions have been built and it's been converted into a care home. And then you can see the paving on the front with just a little bit of shrubs and whatnot growing up. So the application, some more street views. It's adjacent to the conservation area, so opposite, which runs further north and opposite. Just some views at the back. Quite a close relationship is common in parts of Southsea with limited distances existing. Not much change physically, really, in appearance. It's hard to distinguish, really, but so the 3 individual properties, which I assume were individual originally, with their links. So you would have had a front door to the middle of each. Now we have 2 front doors next to each other here. House 3, House 4, House 5 and House 6. That's how they've arranged it. And then at the back I referred to the range of different extensions. They would be knocked down and rebuilt and tidied up to provide part of the new houses. This shows the landscaping that we asked the applicant to provide. We had amendments to the scheme to reorganise the car parking from what was proposed as more or less as existing, which is inefficient and provided no landscaping. We've now got 3 bulks of positive landscaping that can go in, and 3 pairs of parking spaces, and some more hard landscape here. The bin and bike store arrangements are shown, but we feel further discussion can be dealt with by condition to make sure that's absolutely agreed with waste services and so on. But there is some provision shown down here on the side, and then we've got an alleyway that leads to down the back, so each garden has access to the alleyway, so they could take their bins out, any gardening or any bikes, etc., rather than through the houses. And then one last one down here to that house's garden there. Internally, you can see some very large living space provided where they've knocked down and extended as proposed. These are 4-bedroom houses across 3 floors. So there are the bedrooms using the existing. There's a little bit of a demolition up at the top as well, tidying up really, and the bedrooms on the top. The SMAT, the Supplementary Matters Report, just notes that actually the care home has already closed, we're informed, and the residents have moved. They would have been dealt with through the relevant regulations and guidance in terms of their care and attention. And then you've just seen the updated plans, which are mentioned here in the SMAT. So the officers are happy with the principles and effects of the proposal, and subject to mitigation for special protection areas. There's a recommendation to approve.
Thank you, Simon. Councillor Smythe.
Thank you. Is that soft landscaping or hard landscaping at the front, the green bits? I mean, it's not swathes of plastic, it's actually proper growing green things and a permeable surface.
Yeah, we have the condition for hard and soft landscaping. Drainage is not part of that, but we can happily include that to make sure it also soaks up the driveways as much, and the correct drains and permeability and so on.
I would like a condition in there to strengthen that and to strengthen your arm when you're negotiating, which is about, would it be possible to have a condition that increase the amount of permeable area? We could have permeable parking there, for example, and that would stop the rainwater running into the city sewers, which would in turn reduce the pressure on the sewage system and the amount of unpleasant matter in the sea. And it's probably people coming to buy houses down here would want to swim in the sea, and they don't want to find other people's feces in the sea at all. So I wondered if we could put a condition that the parking itself was permeable and that the landscaping was extensive, very extensive in that front area. And I would think that the applicants would be really, is it possible to do that? I'm phrasing it as a question here. Is it possible to do that, to extend that?
Yeah, absolutely, Councillor. I would recommend, rather than a separate condition, we've got a fulsome condition for hard and soft landscaping. I'll definitely insert the right words around drainage for the hard landscaping, and the soft landscaping scheme is coming in anyway, so it will be proper consideration of grass and species.
And would it be possible to include permeable parking? Because I have
Yes.
that in front of my house, and
Well,
it's much better for the environment.
Yep.
I think as long as,
So-
thank you for reassuring me on that question, that that's what we can do. And later on, I would like to propose that we have we do strengthen that condition in that way.
Thanks, and I completely agree with Judith. I think I'd want to build on that. I just wondered whether what we should be asking for is that all rainwater runoff soaks into the garden and isn't going into the sewers, because they've got planting at the front and planting at the back, so it would seem to me that it's not unreasonable to ask that in this case. But I think in terms of building the local plan, whether we're able to, when the local plan comes forward, whether we could have that as a standard thing, that we ask for all new developments, that when rainwater is collected, it doesn't run into the sewers, it soaks away on site.
Thank you, Councillor. I don't know, practically, depends on the levels, etc., different areas, but we can certainly make sure the condition asks us to look at the not only this permeability of the driveways, but also whether or not they can also drain, if necessary, into the soft landscaping rather than the sewer. I can include that, thank you. And yeah, we're actively working on the local plan, and so I shall, undoubtedly, we have some emerging policies around landscaping and drainage. I shall double check on that.
And I hope the emerging policies around permeable car parking areas.
Because if it's said, well, I've been told that the biggest contribution that anybody can make in this city to stopping flooding is by having a garden, because then the rainwater you produce is soaked up within your own garden and not going into the sewers. My other question is, looking at these houses, these are 4-bedroomed houses at the seafront. These will not be cheap. These are, what, £1 million houses? John can probably afford 3 or 4 of them, but the rest of us probably can't. How realistic for £1 million house is one car parking space? I just think it's just not real for a 4-bedroomed £1 million house.
Simon,
And parking is pressured in Southsea. Are we effectively setting ourselves up to cause problems for the neighbours by not producing adequate car parking spaces?
I think Simon will have a
Thank you,
response.
thank you, Councillor. No, we did look at that. There's no objection from the Highways Authority, but I've been down a couple of evenings in term time. So, the care home, I suspect, was already shut. And on the southern end of Spencer Road, there were between 16 to 19 spaces by eye I could count on street, as well as Eastern Parade between Bruce Road and Spencer Road had similar capacity. So there seems plenty of space. Thank you.
How
I
many
think
of
also we do have to persuade millionaires to reduce their car ownership, and it's caveat emptor after all.
But we know from the experiments that John Prescott did that not providing car parking spaces when you build new houses didn't mean that people had fewer cars. It just meant they parked them in roads to upset other people. It didn't work.
Okay. Yes. Are you content with the answer, though?
Yeah, no, that's fine. How many did you buy?
Okay. Any other questions, comments? I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation. Okay. Okay. Oh, sorry. Councillor Shah.
Thank you. Actually, I'm concerned about the parking now because this is 3-story houses and these are 6, but in the future, if they will be given HMO's license, what's going to happen about that? Because now we will be struggling, and then as HMO, that will be impossible.
Councillor, that would be a future application. They would need planning application to convert from a C4, C3 dwelling house to a small or large HMO. So that would be in the gift to the local planning authority to assess that application at the time and make a decision on all the matters, including parking.
Again, it's useful just to remind us that we can only look at the application that's in front of us rather than what we think might happen or may or not happen in the future. So I've moved the officer's recommendation. Councillor Vernon Jackson has seconded. Unless there's anything else, Judith? Oh, you're happy? Right, we'll go to the vote then. Those in favour?
That's unanimous approval of planning permission in accordance with the officer's recommendation.
And the amended condition.
And the
In
amended
accordance with
condition,
the amended condition. Thank you,
permanent
Simon.
or
Yeah.
parking and landscaping. Thank you very much. Thank you, members. That concludes today's business. Thank you to our new committee members today. Hope it wasn't too bewildering. I close the meeting at 1:12.
Thank you, Chair, for looking after us.
Oh, you're very welcome. Let's do it again in 3 weeks.